Anthology on the bad, short-lived, and forgotten television shows and events in TV history. You are listening to It Was a Thing on TV.
But Charles, your wish has been granted. The blue light means that you get, guess what? What? A second chance. Isn't that nice?
Episode 538, submission number 275, Me and the Boys. Me and the Boys aired on the ABC television network from September 20th, 1994 to February 28th, 1995 for 19 episodes. And if Mike were here, he would point out that it is 3 more than a crock block.
Okay, so in the chronological order, this comes after 4 days earlier. We covered Brotherly Love back in episode 236 and Nightstand with Dick Dietrich back in episode 39.
Only 4 days?
Yeah, because this premiered on September 20th. So we had 2 shows premiere on September 16th that we covered.
Oh.
And if you want to go 6 days earlier than that, what premiered on September 10th, 1995 was Cleghorn,
Which we covered this time last year.
Does this have a theme song?
It's 9 seconds long. It came out in 1994. Nobody has a theme song in 1994.
I'm sure this is a good 9 seconds. Okay, so we're going to play for you now the 9 seconds. So here it is. I hope you enjoyed that 9 seconds.
It was a good 9 seconds. Nowadays, Steve Harvey is known for being a man of several talents. He's an actor, a producer, a director, a comedian, an entrepreneur, a TV judge, not to be confused with an actual judge, but a TV judge, an Emmy winner, and also the longest serving host of Family Feud.
Oh, that is true. He is the longest serving host of the version that's been on since 1999, because Louis was on for 3 years. Richard Karn was on for 4 years. If I'm not mistaken, John O'Hurley was 4 years too.
Yes. And then Steve Harvey.
So Steve Harvey's been on the show for 16, 17 years?
Yes, at least 15, 16 years. It's gotten to be the point where Family Feud, since 1976 when it premiered, has gotten, let's see, Dawson, Combs, back to Dawson, Anderson, Karn, O'Hurley. Nobody talks about Al Roker, and Steve Harvey. So choosing your favorite host of Family Feud is like choosing your favorite doctor from Doctor Who. Tom Baker, by the way. Thanks for asking.
So let me just think about this. Who would be the Patrick Troughton of Family Feud hosts?
The one who could actually do the job, but nobody ever remembers? Richard Karn.
I'm going to triple the points.
I'm going to triple the points.
Hold on. Remember when Richard Karn was selling NFTs for like a
Oh my.
minute?
Everybody in 2020 was selling NFTs, and I'm just going like, why? Why do you want to do this? It's like, oh, look at me. I've got this picture. And I'm like, big deal. It's like the picture that I have. Yeah, but this is the only one like it. You're dumb.
I can take a screen cap of the picture. There. I have the picture.
It's the blockchain, man. We're going to the moon on the... Shut up. You're sounding like Shop at Home guy. Anyway, what were we talking about?
Yeah, what's the show about?
Okay, so, to quote Colin Giuliani, before we talk about this show, we need some context. In 1990, Steve Harvey, who was by this time gigging around his hometown of Cleveland, Ohio, as a boxer, an auto worker, an insurance salesman, a carpet cleaner, and a mailman, finished as a finalist in the second annual Johnny Walker National Comedy Search, performing on April 16th. That led to him replacing Mark Curry as host of It's Showtime at the Apollo.
Wait, today I learned that Mark Curry hosts It's Showtime at the Apollo at
You
one
didn't
time.
know that?
No. By the way, speaking of Mark Curry, I got recently in the mail the long out of print, but I really wanted it for my collection, Criterion Collection DVD of Armageddon, which has Mark Curry in a cameo in it at the beginning of the movie.
Okay, today I learned that Mark Curry had a cameo in Armageddon.
Yeah, he's like one of the New York City cab drivers. Yeah, like right when like the meteor or whatever is hitting New York City.
Was this the meteor that the dog fell into as well?
I think so.
Oh, that's sad.
Yeah.
Steve Harvey, he was on It's Showtime at the Apollo. He honed his craft. That led in 4 short years to a gig as the star of what's going to be a vehicle from 2 writers of Full House and then some other guy. Rob Dames and Bob Meyer wrote for Full House. Lenny Rips, I believe, was a director. They pitched this show to the network, to ABC. They pitched Steve Harvey to the network. They agreed to give it, 13 shows, see how it does. And then it actually did rather well. I think for the entire season, it placed 20th. But obviously, we wouldn't be here talking about this show if something didn't happen to it. Hopefully, we'll figure out what. But in the moment, let's talk about who me and the boys were. The me in Me and the Boys is Steve Tower, a widower with 3 sons who ran a video store called the Video Depot.
That's a really terrible name for a store, the Video Depot.
It's the early 90s. You wanted to own a video store, or I guess a record bar or a Trax or something. The 90s were a hell of a time, kids. Steve was raising 3 boys. His oldest, Artis, his middle son, William, and his youngest, Andrew. Rounding out the cast and helping out where she can was Mary Cook, Steve's mother-in-law. In those roles, as Steve Tower, obviously, Steve Harvey, the boys, Artis Tower, William Tower, and Andrew Tower, were played by Chaz Lamar Shepard, Wayne Collins Jr., and Benjamin Levert. Chaz Lamar Shepard, best known for roles in movies like Set It Off and The Nutty Professor, and TV shows like Luke Cage. He was in 33 episodes of Seventh Heaven. You think he ran into Sherry Appleby?
I don't know.
William was played by Wayne Collins. Wayne Collins, known for such theatrical masterpieces like Dead Presidents, 3 Ninjas Knuckle Up, and A Thin Line Between Love and Hate.
Oh, 3 Ninjas Knuckle Up. That's the 3 Ninjas movie that nobody remembers.
I thought that was High Noon on Mega Mountain.
No, I remember High Noon at Mega Mountain because the Hulkster was in that movie. Boo!
Boo! You suck! Oh, yeah. Wayne was also on the entire run of Baby Talk.
Oh, my God. Baby.
I'm surprised we haven't talked about that show.
What can I say about Baby Talk?
Hey, you know who voiced Mickey?
Yeah, Tony Danza. Angela.
Angela.
You know what? Angela. But you know what? I bet you it was like a big role for Tony because he didn't have to play anybody named Tony.
And the youngest Andrew Tower was played by Benjamin Levert, best known for roles in the movie Love Jones and TV shows like Early Edition and On Our Own. Apparently attended Murray Language Academy in Chicago, where he left to shoot Me and the Boys and did not return. Hasn't had much of a career since 1997, actually. And rounding out the cast as Mary Cook, Steve's mother-in-law, Madge Sinclair, the late great Madge Sinclair. This was actually her final role before she died.
Well, that's going out on a high note, I guess.
I guess so, yeah.
But this is the first time that we talked about Madge Sinclair since the 1985 All-American Thanksgiving Day Parade on CBS, where she was hosting the coverage from, of all places, Toronto?
And you know what that means.
Yeah, I know what that means. We get to bring up for the first time in probably a long time Clifford the Big Inbred Dog. Hey, everybody, it's me, Clifford the Big Inbred Dog.
Can't sleep, dog will eat me. Can't sleep, dog will eat me.
Hey, what you get fucked about?
Greg, please protect me.
I'll make sure that Clifford the Big Inbred Dog comes nowhere near. I'll try to get the ghost of Bill Armstrong to push Clifford the Big Inbred Dog back a bit.
Isn't he in Vancouver? This is a guy that happened in Toronto.
He's a ghost, Chico. He can float wherever he wants to.
So yeah, we have 3 different sons, a widower, and the mother-in-law as the strong female figure. And then there's a girlfriend who will figure later in the cast, but we'll get to that. But right now, let's get to some episodes, shall we? Episode 1 is, of course, the pilot. Steve teaches his middle son, William, a lesson about honesty when he catches William at the movies watching a horror movie that he isn't allowed to see. Makes sense. It makes sense. Absolutely innocuous so far. By the way, we have the first appearance of Steve's girlfriend, Amelia. Yes, he's a widower, but that didn't mean he didn't like to get down. And Amelia is played by Wendy Raquel Robinson, who would reunite with Steve on the Steve Harvey show on the WB. So, some chemistry there. Episode 2, The Hunt for Miss October.
Oh my gosh. So wait,
this-
is this going to involve like Steve's character like meeting Miss October from the Playboy magazine?
I have no idea what it's going to involve. All I know is the guy who wrote it went on to co-create That's So Raven and Hannah Montana for the Disney Channel.
Oh, well, you know this is quality.
Oh, yeah. When Steve finds out that Artis and William both own girly magazines, he tells his sons to get rid of them because he does not want them objectifying women. Makes sense. When all of Andrew's classmates have great art projects that their parents did for them, while Andrew is left with his own crude work, Steve proudly announces that Andrew is to be commended for self-sufficiency and craftsmanship as he did all the work on his own. The collision of both plot lines causes Steve to be the one explaining everything to the principal.
Okay.
The art project, I believe, involves the girly bags. Episode 3, Your Cheatin' Heart. Steve offers William an incentive to turn his Black History grade from an F to an A CD player.
Oh, a CD player.
Yeah. Obviously, he's gonna maybe do a little bit of trickeration with this. Just a little bit. Playing Mrs. Kitchum, the teacher, Vernie Watson. We talked about her, I believe, in Carter Country, but she is best known as Will Smith's mama on The Fresh Prince.
But at least she was there for Will, unlike his deadbeat daddy.
Why you don't like him no more? Episode 4, Curfew, God Bless You. Artis sneaks out to a party, and Andrew forgets to do his homework. Episode 5, Crushed. Steve tries to prevent William from being humiliated when William wears his heart on his sleeve for an uninterested older girl. Okay, so couple no names in this episode. No character name, but Alexis Fields is in this episode. She was in 22 episodes of Rock and 24 episodes of The Secret World of Alex Mack, and currently an All-American on the CW. Another name on this episode playing Rosalie, Rachel Sweet. Produced Two Broke Girls and the Goldbergs and Hot in Cleveland, but known better as a singer. Big in the 80s. I believe she did a cover of Everlasting Love with Rex Smith.
Oh, yes.
You know, the guy who sang a love song to a whale. And also rode a motorcycle. That is not Knight Rider, by the way.
Similar to, but legally distinct.
Correct. Episode 6. Every good boy does fine. Steve and Mary must face the music and tell Andrew that he can't play the piano as well as his older brothers. That's just heartbreaking. Episode 7. Black Dads Can't Jump. Steve assigns himself as Artist's personal basketball coach. Okay, couple names in this episode. As Coach Brown, we have James Pickens Jr. On the cast. He is Dr. Richard Webber on Grey's Anatomy. He's also in later episodes of The Connors, but yeah, he's mostly known for Grey's Anatomy and Roseanne. And then we have as Larry, Stuart Pankin. Is he in the hall yet?
No, not yet.
Okay.
He will be eventually one day.
Of course, we talked about him on Dinosaurs and Nick Freno, also on Not Necessarily the News.
Oh, Second Chance 1987 / Boys Will Be Boys we talked about. He was the teacher on that show.
Oh, he was a teacher on that show.
Yep.
Oh, I love this one. Episode 8. Talent Show. Steve can hardly stop his head from spinning when the Four Tops play a surprise visit to Mary's church fundraiser and wind up performing.
Oh, let me guess who's going to guest star on this episode. The Four Tops.
The Four Tops. Also on this episode as Valerie Ebony Smith from Wake, Rattle, and Roll and Family Matters. But a bigger name still playing Denise. Lark Voorhees from the previous entry, Good Morning Miss Bliss, and of course, the role that made her Saved by the Bell. But they're the same role, so you know.
Yeah. Wait, did she do anything in Saved by the Bell Hawaiian style? I don't think I remember talking about Lisa in that.
Yeah, Lisa was the one who bet Slater and Jesse that they couldn't go the entire vacation without arguing.
Oh, let me guess that didn't work.
Nope.
I was too busy thinking of Dean Jones and those pieces of shit at the Royal Pacific Hotel. As we all know, and I've established many times, which means it hasn't been for a while, but I can't stand the Royal Pacific Hotel. They were pieces of crap for treating Kelly and Dean Jones like that.
They're absolute garbage.
Yeah, garbage.
One more name in this show, playing Jay, aka Junior Lavelle, J. Anthony Brown from Tyler Perry's Assisted Living. Episode 9, Bad Influence. Steve and William have a falling out when William falls in with the wrong crowd at school. Meanwhile, Mary is slow to tell Andrew that she accidentally drove over his pet turtle. Couple people in the bad crowd playing Elizabeth, Melinda Williams. We talked about her on Nick Freno, licensed teacher. And TC, not to be confused with Mike's beloved cat or Top Cat, Dion Richmond from Getting By on ABC and NBC. Also played Kenny on the show that aired on NBC Thursday nights in the late 80s and early 90s that we don't talk about. Keisha Knight Pulliam calls him Bud. Episode 10, halfway through here. We're off to see the lizard. Artist gets all wound up over the fact that his father is paying a video store coworker more money per house and takes a job at a pizza joint, which requires him to dress like a lizard. Meanwhile, Steve spends some quality time with Andrew. That's nice. Playing a couple of artists' friends. Playing a couple friends of the family. The first one being Eddie, Andrew Bilgore, who was in Van Wilder, Dexter, previous entry Bob. He played Albie on Bob. You remember that.
Yeah.
And then playing Ryan, Marcus T. Polk. You remember him as Miles, Moesha's younger brother on Moesha. Episode 11. Oops, there it is. J. Anthony Brown wrote this episode along with Steve's manager, Rashawn McDonald, also co-producer of Family Feud nowadays. Andrew's teacher draws the wrong conclusion when Andrew hands in a picture that he drew of Steve and his girlfriend kissing. Naked. Amelia doesn't make an appearance, but making an appearance in this as the teacher, Denise Dowse from 90210 and California Dreams, among other things. Making an appearance as Irv, Sherman Hemsley.
Oh, you know what that means? We get to bring up the Boom Boom Room again.
Episode 12, Christmas Story. Andrew refuses to pose for a family Christmas photo because it is the family's first Christmas photo taken since the boy's mother, Julia, passed away. I totally get that. Okay, we have a name in this episode. Playing Cicely, Shar Jackson. Also played Niecy Jackson on Moesha, and Crystal on 2 episodes of My So-Called Life. Episode 13, Blast from the Past. Steve picks up bad vibrations when members of his former bands, the Four Vibes, ask artists to join them in a performance at their high school reunion. Episode 14, Money to Burn. Steve's joy at winning $1,000 in the lottery gradually disappears, along with the money, as the demands of friends and family mount. We have a name in this episode. John Marshall Jones plays a guy named Robert. John Marshall Jones was in the entire run, all 22 episodes of John Doe from 2002 to 2003, and was in Watchmen Chapter 1 and Watchmen Chapter 2. I believe that is the animated version of the Watchmen franchise.
Either that or the HBO miniseries.
He was also in 5 episodes of All American Homecoming and 10 episodes of For All Mankind, Apple TV's space epic. So yeah, he does things. Episode 15, The Kiss Off. Steve appears on a local television talk show. A couple of names in this episode. No character name for this guy, but Phil Morris makes an appearance. Of course, Jackie Childs from Seinfeld. And of course, his role as Rick Collier in 2 seasons of the new Mission Impossible, where he takes up after his dad. His real life dad, Greg Morris.
Yes. And of course, later, Bill Morris would have greater notoriety as Jackie Childs on Seinfeld.
I literally just said that.
There's one thing I want to mention. He was Zendaya's dad on Shake It Up.
I was today years old when I learned this.
Yeah, I went on like an unusual binge of that show like 3 years ago on Disney Plus because I was like sick as a dog, and it was right after Spider-Man No Way Home came out. I was like, I guess I was on a Zendaya kick.
Yeah, I was like, you needed your Zendaya, and you needed it now.
Yeah, Challengers wasn't out then, so where can I get it?
Yep. Oh, by the way, did we mention Marblehead Manor?
That's right.
Because he was on that show too.
Along with Michael Richards.
If Phil Morris, because he was on Marblehead Manor, Star Trek 3, If Phil Morris is not in the Hall of Fame, he's damn near close.
He might be.
Oh, one more name playing Janet, Steve's sister, Karen Molina White from the last two seasons of A Different World. Episode 16, The Age of Reason. Steve starts feeling a little long in the tooth when he bites off more he can chew by trying to impress attractive Dr. Cheryl during a physical exam. So we have as the doctor, Cheryl, the very attractive Tembi Locke, who was in 24 episodes of Eureka, but you would probably remember her from her role as Dr. Diana Davis on 18 episodes of Sliders from 99 to 2000. Also played a role as Vice Principal Liz Taylor in 5 episodes of Previous Century Raising Dad. Speaking of Saved by the Bell, as a girl in this episode, Bianca Lawson, who was on many of the early seasons of Saved by the Bell, the new class.
Who'd she play?
Megan Jones. Episode 17, Goldilocks. Steve has his eye on an attractive police officer named Nina, who's assigned to keep an eye on his house after a Goldilocks-style burglar breaks in several times to make himself temporarily at home. Playing Nina, Robin Givens. Yes, Darlene from Head of the Class.
But also, around this time, she was in the 1995 David Wayne's classic, Blank Man.
Is that tempura in your belly, or are you just happy sashimi?
I just want to say this. If you don't shed a tear over the death of poor J5, I'm sorry. You just haven't lived.
You need to check your chest where your heart's supposed to be, because it's not there. 2 more episodes, guys. Episode 18, The B Word. Steve continues to pursue a romantic relationship with Nina, but he remains at arm's length when it seems that her feelings for him are more of the brotherly kind. And of course, we have Robin Givens as Nina and Karen Molina White as Janet. So things will get really awkward really quickly. And the final episode, when Stanley met Shirley. Artist has his friend sneak him into a dance club for his 17th birthday, but the celebration hits a sour note when he realizes that Steve is there also. I'm rather curious because Steve is not there with Nina. Nina's not even in this episode. In fact, after the last episode, she kind of sort of disappears.
Yeah, what's up with that? That's a bunch of crap, if you ask me.
Indeed. Well, that's pretty much it for the show. I mean, it was a good enough show. The kids were funny. Steve Harvey always delivered. He was always on. Steve Harvey historically has always been one of those comedians who is always on. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And all of the chemistry just seems to work. But I think the problem that the show had is its time slot. You have a show like Me and the Boys. It is on in the middle of Full House and Home Improvement. And then you have Grace Under Fire at 9:30. This is all on a Tuesday, by the way. And then rounding out the night on ABC is NYPD Blue. So this may have been because you have shows like Full House and Home Improvement. Yes, Me and the Boys is basically family hour television. But, and this is the problem I see. At this point, you don't see white audiences gravitating towards black sitcoms and black audiences gravitating towards white sitcoms. Although looking at the schedule, me and the boys had every chance in the world to succeed. It outranked Full House, and it led into one of the more popular shows in the age, Home Improvement. And ABC just owned Tuesday nights in 1994. But I don't think it was compatible, or at least audiences at the time did not see it as compatible with the rest of the night, which is a shame, really, because episodes do exist on YouTube. I suggest you hunt them out, watch them for yourselves, because it's a very decent show.
But let's not cry for Steve Harvey. He would have much success with the Steve Harvey Show on the WB. And of course, the original Kings of Comedy. It's Showtime at the Apollo. And then, of course, Family Feud. But the less said about Judge Steve Harvey, the better.
I will say Reuben Irvin is a hell of an announcer.
Let's give Judge Steve Harvey some credit. They had Scott Steiner on an episode. Could you imagine Scott Steiner going like, you know, they say that all courtrooms are created equal, but I'm a genetic freak, and I'm not normal. So I have a 6 2/3 chance of winning this case.
And remember, everyone, Steve Harvey is not a judge. He doesn't have a law degree. He merely offers an alternative forum of dispute resolution.
Sure.
Right.
Well, what can we say about Me and the Boys on Tuesday nights in the mid-90s on ABC between Full House and Home Improvement, the two biggest family sitcoms of the era? It was just another thing on TV.
You can find us at our website, itwasthathingontv.com, on Facebook at It Was a Thing on TV Podcast, and elsewhere at It Was a Thing on TV. You can find us on any podcast player, and we're also on YouTube, where you can subscribe to our channel to be up to date with our releases, including what's coming up next time.
Well, for the next episode, we're going to take a little break from Black History Month and cover something, because one of the subjects in this episode has his birthday coming up, and also the episode revolves around a subject that's going to be part of a holiday that's coming up. So, who could we be talking about regarding the celebrity, and what show is it?
So the guy has a birthday, and then it's President's Day, and gosh, I don't even know. I mean, it could be a political thriller, or it could be a family drama.
Well, you'll have to find out what we're talking about on the next episode of It Was a Thing on TV. Thanks for listening. We'll see you with that episode